Hey, good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio, here to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. I'll tell you who's coming up on that show here. Oh, in a little bit. First of all, how are you? Looks like it's going to be a warm day. What is it? What's the forecast calling for today? Uh, 89 degrees today, 89 degrees tomorrow, 89 degrees Friday. It's too early for that. Hey, Johnny, good morning, buddy. How are you? How are you, buddy? And another friend of mine, Craig Plowman. Let's see, September, executive director, press, keynote speed. I was hoping to get out of that. When is that? That is sorry, got a little distracted here. Bruce, good morning. How are you, Bruce? Morning, Todd. Good morning, Bob. Jim's fishing up in Au Gray. Hot, no rain. I know, it's amazing how dry it is already and how hot. Ed, good morning, Bruce. Hello, Mark. Maybe we'll see you next week, huh? Robert. Yeah, it's amazing how hot it is. It's amazing how dry it is. And that is not good news for the inner Saginaw Bay walleye fishery. Maybe by the time I get back, the fish are going to be gone. I hope not. No morels, too dry. Yeah, I was just got an email, kind of took the wind out of my sails. I was hoping I didn't have to do something in September that appears that I'm going to have to. I can tell you one thing. My schedule for next summer will be much different than it is this year. Next year, there will be a distinct cutback on the number of commitments. Greg, look what that is. Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. Morning, Mike. Pivots are going full blast. I know the sprinkler system in my yard's going full blast. Interesting question, Bob. Did you see the pics of the forest fire in White River? Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because me and my naivete thought the Canadian fires were all out in Alberta. And then my buddy, Mark, who is right here, said, hey, what about the fires in Wawa and White River? How's that going to affect your hunt? I'm like, fires in Wawa and White River? I didn't know there were any. So I looked them up online, and indeed, there are fires burning very near White River. I'm heading up to White River Friday morning. Jason, how are things in the Fort Dearborn truck plant? Good morning, Charles. Robert checking in from the Eastern UP. Jim, good morning. How are you? Hey, Scott, how you doing, buddy? 65-year-old semi-retired radio host. No, Scott, the commitment cutback will not be on the radio side. It'll be on the commitment for fishing side. I got so many commitments, it's kind of taking the fun out of it. Plus getting the boat late this year. Next year, I'm cutting back to maybe one fishing trip and no river cruises, and cutting back to fishing for fun. Sup, bro? Too damn hot staying inside. It is hot. It's ridiculous. Hey, man, how are things in your world, buddy? Thank you, John, for the reminder. June 1st is the last day to apply for Michigan Bear and Elk Caps. And I just put in for points this year. How are things going for Walleye for Warriors, Scott? All set, ready to go? And yes, June is the month that I turn 65. In fact, tomorrow, I go on Medicare. I never thought those are words that I would say. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin says, good luck on the bear hunt. Hello, Robert. Where'd you go? Robert, Chris, Julie, Ed, just a pup. I know it. I'm just a pup. Hey, Brent, congrats on that bird. Last minute deal, huh? Sometimes those last minute successes are more rewarding. I'm not looking for a last minute success here in White River. I'm heading up there Friday morning. My hunt starts Saturday. And honestly, I already told Ron, I said the first respectable bear that walks in front of me is going to get a broadhead through her or his lungs. I'd prefer to shoot a boar. A sow is a completely legitimate and respectable target unless she has cubs. I'd never shoot a sow with cubs, obviously. Plus, it's illegal. Doug. Hey, Cap, how are you? Pops and I are on the boat together this morning. Good stuff. Excellent, Doug. When I get out of the radio studio today, no kidding, Craig, here's the story. As I get out of the radio studio today, I'm heading up to the marina to grab my boat to run it back to Linwood Beach Marina. We're swapping motors. That boat came with a Merc 300 XS. Great motor. If you're running a bass boat or a walleye boat that you're not going to troll with, it's too loud to troll. It would drive me bonkers. So I'm running it back to Linwood Beach this afternoon. They're going to swap motors while I'm gone. They're going to put the motor that I had last year, a quiet 300 Merc that you can't even hear is running. And then when I get back from Ontario, it should be good to go. And then I can finally start to fish and try to catch up on these trips, which are, to be honest with you, kind of stressing me out. Morning, Rick. How are you? Good morning, Houghton Lake fisherman. Houghton being invaded by the mayflies. Yeah, when I was at Linwood Beach last week, the mayflies were really something. Jason put in for both bear and elk. 19 chances for elk. Might be on the bubble for a red oak bear tag with 9 points. Yes, you could be. Indeed. Anyway, so what's on my list here? Time shifting in the studio, which doesn't pertain to you when I get to the radio show. The fires in White River and wow, yeah. Yeah, we're not doing a trolling plate. Ready for Walleye for Warriors. Tent goes up a week from today. Excellent, Scott. A little closer to home, a little more mundane. I had to put the goose fence back up. I have developed a strong hatred for geese. I know people who hunt them, love them. It's like me and turkeys. A lot of people hate turkeys. I love turkeys. A lot of people hate turkeys. I hate geese. Good morning, Carl. How are you? Anyway, my name is Mike Avery. This is the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. I'm here to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. I'll tell you who's coming up here shortly. Leaving tomorrow morning, Friday morning, Bernie. Excuse me just a second while I turn up the air conditioning here in the studio. We don't do that now. It's going to be hot, hot, hot. There. Starting to get hot already. If we don't do that now, it's going to be smoking in here by the time we're done. Morning, Ruben. How are things in Colorado? Thank you, John. Appreciate that. So I'm headed to, thank you, Robert, headed to White River Friday morning, armed with my 10-point crossbow. Be sitting in a blind, a Wraith 270 see-through blind. I told Ron, I said, I only need one bait. I'm going to set up one blind over one bait, and the first respectable bear that walks by is going to get shot. I'm going to turn right back around. I'm going to bring my bear meat back to Michigan and pick up my boat at Linwood Beach with the old motor on the new boat, run it back across to Sunset Shores, and start fishing, trying to catch up. I know I've missed a lot of good fishing. I'm well aware of that. John says, good luck. Robert says, good luck. Joe says, good luck. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much. I almost didn't go up to White River this year because of everything that's going on. Too many things going on. But I need to go. I need to go. It won't be a long trip, but I need to go. I need to go to sit in a blind in the middle of nowhere with my thermocell fighting Doug says, good luck. Those bears better start shaking. Ed, the whole worm thing is getting old. I can be honest with you. It's getting old. Johnny, do not even talk about my bear hunt. You are not allowed to talk about my bear hunt, even though you are the bear whisperer. Good morning, Dan. The thing about crawlers, and I might run some crawlers this summer, but you know how I'll run them? I'll run them on spoons at about 2.5 miles an hour. Other than that, I have no desire to run crawlers. I don't want to troll that slow. My goal is to be as good of a Saginaw Bay walleye fisherman as Captain Doug Ward. When I get to that point, I'll be happy. Night crawlers are cheap if you pick them up yourself. I got some new baits I want to try. Got to get out in the skinny water. Yeah, well, and we'll call that good enough. Doug's running crawlers this morning, eh? What made you decide to run crawlers? You will troll that slow this fall. Prepare mentally now. I don't know. The thought of going 1.5 miles an hour, 1.1 miles an hour, 1.3 miles an hour. I don't think I can make myself do it. Of course, if I have to, I have to. So, Scott, you saw that boat. She's a beauty, isn't it? And that 300 XS is a beast of a motor. That day you saw me, Scott, when I turned the key on that motor, I'm like, oh, it must be up out of the water. I thought I actually fired up the motor without dropping the lower unit down, without dropping the motor into the water. Good morning, Deb. How are you? Patience is a virtue. Patience, and I have a lot of patience, just not trolling patience. Hey, Corey, how are you? So I fired that motor up, and I thought, that's loud. It must be out of the water. I turned around. No, it's in the water, all right. And it's a beast of a motor. It's a beautiful motor. I got 43 miles an hour out of that 26-foot Angler Quest as I was running across the bay. But I just can't. It would drive me crazy to troll with a motor that loud. That motor is a great motor if you're running a bass boat, if you're running a walleye boat, and then you're going to turn on your kicker to troll with or your bow mount. But I troll with the big motor. And it just... See? Yep. Same page. Hey, Scott. Doug says 42 feet of water made me run crawlers. Ticking the bottom now. Now a few suspended deeper fish taking fish, though. When you're taking fish, that's all that matters. Hey, Scott. Hey, Doug. Jerry, how are things in the Adirondacks? Mm-hmm. Corey says trolled 1.5 to 1.9 with harnesses and smoked him Saturday. I know. I am missing. Oh, I just got to. My calendar just reminded me that tomorrow is the first day of LGBTQ plus Pride Month. Make sure to celebrate that. Thank you, Deborah. I will have a wonderful day. Robert says, come to Detour for Atlantics. Those Atlantic salmon have me, I'm fascinated by the Atlantics. Corey's going to pass. Corey says, I'll pass. Let me tell you who's coming up on the Outdoor Magazine radio show here. There you go, Andrew. Andrew, can I call you Andy? Which is it? I mean, if you prefer Andrew, I'll call you Andrew. If people really call you Andy, I'm going to call you Andy. My first guest here on the Outdoor Magazine radio show this week is John Durtka. John is the guy who has pioneered underwater spearfishing here in Michigan. He got the law passed that made it legal, and he is promoting the sport. And he's one of those guys who's been getting fish. He's been getting walleye, but you know how he gets them? With a spear. He takes a big breath of air. He dives down. He gets at their level, eye level, and he shoots him with a spear gun. People said, hey, John, how are you? John Sullivan of Lure Lipstick, lurelipstick.com. Those spearing videos are insane. It's really cool. There will be a Wednesday night. Here's the deal. There will be a Wednesday night live tonight. And then as soon as I leave Wednesday night, morning, John, I got to run over to church for a council meeting tonight. So yes, there will be a Wednesday night live. So Outdoor Magazine radio show, record the Offshore Tackle podcast, get out of the studio, go to the marina, grab the boat, run it to Linwood Beach, get a ride back with my brother-in-law, Uncle Johnny, go back home, do some work, do a Wednesday night live, go to church for a council meeting, go home, fill this half full of Maker's Mark, and go to sleep. John Durtka, the spearfishing guru, will join me on the radio show. Then Michael Hensley of Go Great. And Andrew, I know you hate this, but they don't call it Go Great Lakes Bay anymore. They just call it Go Great. Then Jerry Gostinek in hour number 2, talking about bass fishing in Michigan. Hey, Ross, how you doing, buddy? I did see Brent's turkey. I posted the pictures. I congratulated him, and I congratulate you because I think you were guiding him, calling for him. Weren't you, Ross? And Ross, I hope to see you in White River Friday night. Ross, are you aware of this? And I admit that I was not. When I heard about the Canadian fires, I was thinking Alberta because I thought they were all west. They're burning in Ontario too, near White River and near Wawa. I did talk to Ron this morning, and he said we're good. He said the fires are going the wrong direction. All right, Robert, tilling the garden today. Get some water in it. It's going to be dusty. I can't believe how dry it is right now. Hot and dry, eh, Robert, Bob. People tend to put their, like my name, Michael. My name is Michael, but I'm Mike. So if I'm looking at you, like Andrew and Robert, if I see you in person, are you Bob or are you Andy? Big Ontario fires. That's right where I'm going, Ed. But I talked to Ron St. Louis. He said we're good to go. That's not Dustin. That's Chad Fedowa. In hour 2 of the rundown, there's a change. I have a name there. It's the incorrect name. The correct name is Chad. I will update that when we get a chance here. All right. And then in our 3rd hour, Dave Engel talking about fishing salmon on Lake Michigan. Rachel, how are you? Your hubby's on here right now, or he was. Sherry, things are hot in Poseyville. Craig says he feels bad for the farmers that were planting last weekend. Yeah, they're planting into dust. It's so dry. It's like drought conditions in May, right? It feels like it's mid-August right now. It's hot, it's dry, and Craig, that has me concerned. Well, you don't care about the inner Saginaw Bay walleye anymore, because you moved north. When it's hot and when it's hot like this, and the water warms up fast, those fish go. Pew. I'm worried by the time I get back from Ontario and get the boat in the water and actually start fishing, the fish are going to be. Pew, they're going to be north. Morning, Brian. How are you? Well, he was just checking in for a minute, Rachel. All right, let me go to my clock here. It'll be a 12-minute segment, so I'll set the clock for 12 minutes. I might have to dock and all gray. You're going to be in a good spot. Yeah, Andy. I get it. But Go Great. Now, that is something I can get behind. GoGreat.com. Is that it? Oh, false start? Oh, we're going? Okay, real start. All right, my friends. I'm going to switch focus here. Good morning, Justin. I know it. Well, yeah. Just finished planting Friday. All right, my friends, I got to change focus here from talking to you or trying to talk to you to actually doing a radio show. And it's the radio show for June 10th. So it's a whole time shifting thing. My old brain is having a harder and harder time with time shifting, but we'll get through it. And I'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock. Thanks, Johnny, for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. Have a great day, my friends. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with us. How are you? What's going on in your world? Are you having a chance to get outdoors this weekend? Did you get outdoors and have some fun this last week since we talked? Listen, if you're not getting outdoors this time of year, there's something wrong. Although I will tell you, as we're sitting here in the studio right now, and it's morning and it's already hot, I don't mind being inside in some air conditioning. Now, I'll tell you right now, we're doing some time shifting. It's the last week we're going to be doing some time shifting for a while. I don't like to time shift, but sometimes we have to. And as we're here in the studio right now, or outside, it's hot and it's dry. I hope by the time you hear this show, we've had some rain. Because right now, it feels like August. With the temperatures and with the lack of rain, it feels like August. Doing some time shifting to cover my bear hunt in White River, Ontario, Canada. I will be home from White River by the time you hear this show. Hopefully, I will be telling the story next week about this bear that I shot in White River. I'm not picky. I wasn't picky. I told Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters that the first respectable bear that walks in front of me is going to get shot. And I will admit that I was, I don't know if I was living under a rock or what, but people, I was hearing about these Canadian fires, they made for some beautiful sunrises, some beautiful sunsets. And it wasn't really, I will admit, I wasn't really taking much of an interest because I wasn't directly involved, or so I thought. I got a text just before I left from my buddy. He said, "Hey, what about those fires in White River and Wawa? How are they going to affect you?" I'm like, fires in White River and Wawa? I drive past Wawa to go to White River. Looked it up online, and indeed, fires burning in White River and Wawa. But I talked to Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters. He said, we're good. The fires are going the other direction. So that will be interesting. I've never experienced a big wildfire like that. I've had some very, very cool Canadian adventures, but never a wildfire, and hopefully can avoid that. My experiences in Canada, I love Michigan. I am a Michigan guy. I was born in Michigan. I've spent my entire life in Michigan. I've spent my entire career in Michigan. And if I could do all of my outdoor recreating in Michigan, I would. I'd be happy with it. I mean, look at It's nice in the fall to jump down to Ohio and do a bow hunt with my buddy Bill Piles. I do like to go to Ontario for a bear hunt. And the reason I bear hunt in Ontario is because I can't get a tag in Michigan every year. I was thinking back to my Canadian adventures here. Most of my time has been spent in Ontario because it's close. I can drive there. I think the most beautiful place in Canada I've ever been is Alberta. Alberta is crazy cool. It's far enough west where you feel like you're in the West. The mountains, yeah, I've hunted the foothills. I've never hunted the mountains proper. I have bear hunted in Alberta. I have whitetail hunted in Alberta. The thing about Alberta is you'll see moose, you'll see elk, you'll see bears, you'll see wild horses. And it's really very, very, very cool. My first bear hunting adventure ever was in Manitoba. First bear I ever took was in Manitoba. Now, it wasn't a big bear because, as is the case with a lot of first-time bear hunters, the first time you see a bear, you go, "Oh, that's a shooter bear." I hate the term shooter, but you think, "Oh, that's a good bear. That's a respectable bear." There is no critter I have ever had an experience with that has more ground shrinkage than bears. Ground shrinkage means you see something from farther away, you shoot it, you walk up on it, and as it's laying on the ground, you think, "Ooh, that's not as big as I thought." And I will admit, the first bear I ever shot that was in Manitoba was not a very big bear, but it was my first bear. Tasted great, and I'm still pretty proud of it. It was a cool experience because that was my first bear hunt. I didn't know what to expect. We went 16 miles from camp back into the bush on an Argo. If you've ever ridden in an Argo, you know what an adventure that can be. You know how uncomfortable that can be. The things will go anywhere. They're like a 6-wheeled or an 8-wheeled track, not a track, big rubber tired vehicles, and they'll literally go anywhere. They will float. You can take an Argo across the water, which we did. We floated this Argo across the water to get to the bait. But then riding 16 miles back that night with the bear in the back of an Argo, and I'm sitting on the bear, it was a long, uncomfortable ride. But the experience was cool. And then I had an opportunity to go bear hunting in Ontario for the first time. And it was, I'm trying to think of the name of that island up in it's the Manitoulin. I think it's Manitoulin Island. It's on the North Shore, the North Channel. It's up in the North Channel. Again, a beautiful place, completely different topography from hunting Alberta. We had a chance to go up there with some friends, and they said, "Hey, we're going to go up bear hunting. You want to go?" "Sure, I'll go bear hunting." And I was convinced from my experiences there that Ontario didn't have any bear. Nope, no bear here. My son James and I went up there. We hunted for a week straight. Didn't see a bear. Said, "There's got to be bears here." Went home, replenished, got some work done, stocked back up, went back up, hunted for another 5 days or so, never saw a bear. I'm like, in my mind, I said, in fact, I said to others, I said, "I'm never bear hunting in Ontario again. There's no bears here." Well, it turns out I was in the wrong place and maybe with the wrong people. Had the opportunity then to go to White River and hunt with a guy named Pete Jones. Pete was just getting started. He was starting Superior Bear Outfitters, and they were looking for some exposure. I had a TV show at the time. Pete says, "Come on up and hunt with us. Give it a try." I said, "Pete, I'm a little reluctant. I don't think Ontario has any bears." He said, "Trust me, Ontario has bears." Went up, hunted with Pete, shot a bear, I think, almost right away, and was kind of hooked on bear hunting, hooked on that whole White River area. White River's pretty cool because from where I live, it's about a 7-hour drive. I mean, I can drive there. I don't have to get on an airplane. I don't have to deal with all that stuff. That makes it nice. That makes it easy. You drive up there on Highway 17. You drive the north shore of Lake Superior. So it's a beautiful drive. And man, do they have bears. And there you're likely to see moose. You may see a wolf. The first time I ever had an experience with a wolf was in White River, not when I was hunting them, but when I was bear hunting. Bears had taken down a moose. I'm sorry, wolves had taken down a moose near a bear bait that I was hunting. The bait had been very active and suddenly went dead. Well, the only thing anybody could come up with was, wolves. And then that night, when I hear a pack of wolves howling, and how far away was it? Can you really tell when it's real thick like that? But it was close. The first time you hear a wolf or a pack of wolves howling, you know right away, hey, that's not a coyote. And indeed, I did have a small, beautiful black wolf come into my bear bait that night. Got it on camera. It was beautiful. So it's always kind of an adventure. I do look forward to it, but I always look forward to getting back home too. And I cannot wait. I've got such a late start on my Saginaw Bay walleye fishing. I'm jonesing. By the time you hear this show, if I have not been back on the bay, I will be in rough shape mentally. Hopefully, by the time you hear the show, I've got a great story of a nice bear. I got some walleye in the New Angler Quest. I've got some stuff I posted online. I've kept some people happy. We've caught some fish. Everything is right in the wonderful world of the outdoors. But I don't know yet. Because again, we're doing some time shifting. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show after the break, I can tell you for a fact that John Durka will be joining me. John is the guy who has pioneered underwater spearfishing here in Michigan. We'll talk about that. Then Michael Hensley of Go Great talks about promoting the walleye fishery on Saginaw Bay. In hour number 2, Jerry Gostinek on bass fishing in Michigan. Chad Fedewa from the DNR talks about peregrine falcon. And then we're talking Lake Michigan salmon with Dave Engel in hour number 3. And of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. That's coming up this week here at the Outdoor Magazine radio show. My email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Don't hesitate to reach out. The website, mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Be sure to check out my social media stuff as well, including Wednesday Night Live every Wednesday night at 7 on my social media outlets. All right, my friends, have a good day. I will see you tonight at 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. Try to stay cool. Have a good day. I will do the same.